Welcome back to Chamber Chatter. Of course, we have Melanie Fraser with Halton Hills Chamber and Scott McCammon with the Milton, the Chamber of Commerce. In the first half, we talked about the election. This half, however, we're going to talk about what's going now. COVID is not over yet. The biggest thing right now I wanted to touch on first is the vaccine passport, vaccine certification. The Ontario government has announced that they will be rolling out a similar certification that to Quebec, BC, who had soon followed. I think it takes into effect September 22nd. The last time we talked about this, Scott and Melanie, you both were hoping that some form of government would do something that's universal, that everybody can follow, that it's not just left to the individual businesses. So we'll start with you, Scott. Your thoughts on this announcement, and also has it changed anything in terms of how the business community feels about this?
Yeah, so the funny part is last time we talked, at that point, the Premier had said, no way are we doing vaccine passports. And then we said, you know what, if they say that yesterday, that doesn't mean that, they can't change their mind tomorrow. And here we are tomorrow. They've changed their mind. So it's encouraging. Look, I still think there's a need for a federal passport because people don't stop at the Ontario border. So it's going to cause more confusion. But that said, I mean, I'd rather have some kind of a vaccine passport, and especially once we get into the app, it's going to make it a lot easier for businesses. We talked about this last time, but it's frustrating in a way that the onus is on the business to be the enforcer. So we've seen what's happened on the campaign trail with anti-vaxxers and protests. We don't need those at our local restaurants when they're trying to just enforce the provincial rules. So we welcome the passports. I think it's a great idea, but we still do have concerns about the impact on business.
Yeah, Scott, I would agree with that. So we are, along with you, we're at the Halton Hills Chamber. We're happy to see some type of infrastructure or some framework so that the businesses individually don't need to determine what the rules are. But I think that there's still a lot of work to be done. So for example, we have our chamber golf tournament on September 22nd, and that's the day the vaccine passport rolls out, or certification, or whatever it is we're calling it. And we still don't know what's allowed and what isn't. So we're waiting for some more download from the provincial government as to, if someone can come in and get a drink at the clubhouse, do you need it to access the bathrooms, etc. So business does need some more guidance. This has been a theme with this government through this entire pandemic. Information comes late, and it's often missing elements that businesses need to run efficiently. But I do think that this will help get us where we need to be. Vaccines did uptake quite significantly after the announcement was made, and they're saying now that we need to be at about 90% double vaccinated as a province for us to be fully safe and feeling like we can get on with things. So it's an interesting time in the province, and I know that the federal government has announced funding for the vaccine apps and for the distribution of the program. And Trudeau has said that it'll be probably about a year before they have a national program. So in the interim, that the provinces will need to step up and have something going. So fingers crossed that it works well for everybody, but I do think we've got some rocky times ahead.
And I would add into that, sorry, Melissa, but I would add into that it's great that Ontario wants to have a made in Ontario solution for the app, but other provinces have already got it. So why not just adopt something that's already in place? And then once we do look at some kind of a national framework, it'd be so much easier if the apps were the same. The assumption and the hope is that at some point these apps are going to be able to talk to one another, but who knows?
Well, I mean, government departments don't talk to one another, so I'm not sure the app is going to be a top priority for that. But you talked about, both of you in a sense talked about the confusion that there was. So you had the national one that was announced to deal with international travel, and people were like, look, why don't we use that? Even our premier had said the national one is sufficient enough. Well, I'm not going to issue a provincial one, but there was confusion now that this one is here as to what jurisdiction what place each vaccine falls in where, as it were. So, you know, for the, just to remind those, for now, it's starting off for non-essential services. So your restaurants, your gyms, things like that, you would need a vaccine passport. And if I'm not mistaken, on September 22nd, we obviously won't have our app, but you can use that receipt that we all get. So that's the understanding right now is how it's going to roll out. Having said that, though, you talked about the onus on the businesses themselves. Have you spoken to some of our businesses specifically, and have they, even though that this vaccine passport is here, and even though they're saying, look, this is the provincial rule, are they still getting pushback from people coming into their establishment saying, well, no, like, and harassing them and things like that? What are you seeing on the streets?
I mean, we don't see anyone getting harassed. What we are seeing from our businesses is they're getting pushback, and it makes them uncomfortable. They just want to be open. They just want to be able to accept people into their business, but they want to do it safely. So I think that the announcement was rushed. We were very happy to see it, but I think that, you know, with 2 weeks out, there are still lots of questions that need to get answered. So for example, you know, you need to show for the first month, you'll need to show a photo ID along with your watermarked vaccine proof of double vaccination. So what do kids that are 12 to 16 do that don't have driver's licenses? So these are the questions that businesses are asking us, and we're looking for some direction and some answers from the provincial government. The unfortunate thing, I think, through this pandemic has been we eventually get to where we need to be with everything, whether it be rapid testing, whether it be vaccine certification, whatever it might be, but it feels like we're catching up. It feels like this could have been rolled out, you know, 4 to 6 weeks ago, like the Chamber Network was advocating, to give businesses an appropriate lead time so that we can then help our businesses and support them in what they need to communicate to their clients and customers.
You know, the exciting part about the pandemic is that pretty much everyone has become a public health officer. Everyone, you know, everyone goes on the internet, on social media, and gets, you know, one tidbit of information, and suddenly they're a public health inspector. And that's good in a way, because, you know, we want people to be we want them to be more informed if possible, but you know, we all share the responsibility of making sure that that the rules are followed. But it has turned, you know, the public on one another to an extent, and the public has then turned on business to say, the province may be saying one thing, the medical officer of health may be saying one thing, but I read online that I don't need to do this or that, and that just sets it up for some kind of confrontation, which is unfortunate.
Well, I'm seeing through, just obviously through what I do here in the news, a lot of, they talk about infringement on personal rights and freedoms and things like that when it comes to a vaccine passport. But I mean, in your case, and this is not just the business community, this is beyond, right? It goes beyond this. But I mean, we have one. We've had one immunization record in schools. So, I mean, I don't understand what this, and maybe you can clarify as if somebody has spoken to you guys about that, what this idea of personal infringement on their rights is in their charter. Like, explain that. Do you have some insight as to what this could really mean for some of our residents across North Halton?
You know, Melissa, I think that you're always going to have a fraction of the population that feels this way. And, you know, you have these bellwether topics. It was seatbelts back in the 80s, and it was not smoking in offices or on airplanes. So I think these things always come up. I think this one is just more emotionally charged because the entire world is facing it together, and it impacts more people. So, you know, our argument as a business community is that, you know, you don't have a right to go to a movie. There's no actual personal right to go to a gym. And these businesses have an obligation to their staff to keep them safe. I think the real topic is going to come up, and this is actually, I'm hearing this more from my businesses, is what can they require their employees to do? And that'll be the real question is can we require double vaccination? Can we even ask our employees if they're double vaccinated? And we're seeing this particularly within the childcare sector, because there has been legislation that's been passed down or requirements that they either need to be double vaccinated or they need to submit to rapid testing. And that's where I'm actually seeing more questions from our businesses. about what the workplace looks like in the future.
Well, look at too. I mean, just to remind folks as well, this vaccine passport, it's not one size fits all. Of course, there's exemptions for medical reasons that we've talked about this, or the government's talked about this as well. So, there are options for rapid testing. You have to submit to this, but there are areas.
But Melissa, there aren't. That's the key with the vaccine passport. There is no rapid testing for restaurants, movie theaters, etc. That's the big challenge for people, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Scott?
Yeah, I think part of it is that with the vaccination for entry into school, it's done almost automatically now. When you're a child, you get your MMR vaccination. The schools require proof of vaccination, and so it's just ingrained in our culture. And I think the challenge right now is that COVID is so new, and there are so many unknowns to it that people just think that they do have a choice, and it is a personal choice. But I think if we're going to get out of this pandemic, we need vaccinations. And Melanie talked about the fact that we need probably 90%. I mean, we're lucky in Halton in a way, because I think right now we're sitting at about 80% of the population that are first dosed, and about 82% that are second dosed. So well done, Halton. We're doing what we need to, but we need to do more. And so, this is our shot.
Well, and Scott, well done, Milton. Milton is leading all four municipalities. So good job to everyone in Milton for being ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah, I think we have to quickly congratulate Halton Health and everyone else for doing what they need to get the vaccinations to people. Even the province has the Go vaccination bus, which made a stop at the Milton Farmers Market and elsewhere, and so things like that will help to boost those numbers.
Making it easy for everyone. That's the key. If you make it easy, they will do it. So we only have about a minute left or so. I just wanted to take this opportunity. Again, we could talk hours on these issues. To thank you both for coming on this edition of Chamber Chatter. It was a pleasure.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Melissa.
No problem. If you want more information on our programs, you can always go to our website, yourtv.tv. And if you have an idea for a show, definitely email us as well through our website and our Contact Us page. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.